What's up, Wrestle Scope family? Before we dive into today's explosive story, let me ask you something, and I want you to answer this honestly in the comments right now. Do you think WWE management has gone too far this time? Because what I'm about to tell you is going to shake the entire wrestling world to its core. I'm talking about backstage chaos, disrespect at the highest level, and a firing that nobody saw coming. Today, we're breaking down the moment that Nick Aldis, the general manager of WWE Raw, made a decision that has the entire WWE Universe divided, angry, and demanding answers. Hello, viewers. If you're new here, please don't forget to like and hit the subscribe button for daily updates on WWE Raw. Here's what happened, and I'm warning you, this is going to make your blood boil. Gunther, the ring general, the man who held the Intercontinental Championship for 666 days, the longest reign in history. A dominant force who has steamrolled through the entire WWE roster. A man who prides himself on respect, discipline, and honor in professional wrestling. But last Monday on Raw, something happened backstage that crossed a line so severe, so disrespectful, that it resulted in Gunther being fired by Nick Aldis. You heard that right. Fired. Now, before you start typing, "This is fake," or "It's a work" in the comments, stop. Yes, we know wrestling has storylines, but what I'm about to break down is the narrative that WWE is presenting, and whether you think it's real or scripted, the implications for Gunther's future, for John Cena's legacy, and for the power dynamics on Raw are very real. So here's what allegedly went down. John Cena, who recently announced his retirement tour that will culminate in 2025, was backstage at Raw. The 16-time world champion, the face of WWE for 2 decades, the man who has carried this company on his back through thick and thin, he was there preparing for a segment. And Gunther, the ring general, decided it would be a good idea to mock him, to disrespect him, to belittle everything John Cena has accomplished in front of other superstars, production crew, and WWE officials. According to multiple reports, Gunther made disparaging comments about Cena's wrestling ability, called his retirement tour a desperate plea for relevance, and even went as far as to say that Cena never belonged in the same ring as true wrestlers like himself. Can you believe that? Now, I want you to pause right here and drop a comment. Team Gunther or Team Cena? Because this is where the wrestling world is split right down the middle. Let me give you some context here, because this didn't happen in a vacuum. This has been building for months. Gunther has been on an absolute tear since being called up to the main roster. His Intercontinental Championship reign redefined what it means to be a fighting champion. He brought prestige back to a title that had been devalued for years. Every defense was a 5-star classic. Every opponent left the ring knowing they had been in a war. But here's the thing about Gunther, and this is where it gets interesting. He's old school. He believes in a certain style of wrestling. Strong style, European technical wrestling, hard-hitting, no-nonsense, pure wrestling. And you know what? There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But Gunther has also made it very clear that he has no respect for the sports entertainment era of WWE. He's taken subtle shots at The Rock, at Steve Austin, and yes, at John Cena. He believes that these men, while popular, diluted what professional wrestling should be, that they prioritized entertainment over wrestling excellence. Now, whether you agree with that or not is up to you. Drop your opinion in the comments. But here's where Gunther made his critical mistake. You can have your opinions. You can believe in your style of wrestling. You can even think that you're better than the legends who came before you. But, and this is a big but, you do not disrespect those legends publicly, especially not backstage where WWE officials can hear you. John Cena didn't build his legacy on accident. He didn't become a 16-time world champion because of luck. Love him or hate him, Cena showed up every single day, worked through injuries, carried the company through its darkest periods, granted over 650 Make-A-Wish wishes, more than any celebrity in history, and became a global icon who transcended wrestling. For Gunther to mock that? To diminish that? In the house that Cena helped build? That takes either incredible courage or incredible stupidity, and I'm leaning toward the latter. Now let's get into the specifics of what happened, because the details here are juicy.
According to eyewitnesses backstage, and remember, in WWE, there are always people watching and listening, Gunther was in catering with several other superstars, including members of Imperium, his faction. The conversation turned to John Cena's retirement tour, which WWE has been heavily promoting. WWE's plan is to give John Cena one last year-long celebration, allowing him to face various superstars, revisit rivalries, and build towards what will likely be his final WrestleMania moment. It's a beautiful send-off for one of the greatest of all time. But Gunther? He apparently couldn't help himself. Witnesses say he laughed at the concept, called it pathetic, and said, and I quote from the reports, "This is exactly what's wrong with WWE. We celebrate mediocrity and call it excellence. John Cena's best matches with real wrestlers who had to carry him. Without guys like AJ Styles, CM Punk, and Edge, what would Cena's legacy really be?" Now that's already disrespectful enough, right? But Gunther didn't stop there. He allegedly continued, "Cena couldn't last 5 minutes in a real match with me. His time is over. He should have retired years ago instead of clinging to relevance like a desperate old man. WWE doesn't need a retirement tour for someone who never truly mastered the craft." Boom. Can you imagine being in that room? The temperature probably dropped 20 degrees. Several superstars reportedly looked uncomfortable. Some walked away. Others pulled out their phones, probably texting people about what they just heard. And here's the kicker. Nick Aldis, the Raw general manager, was within earshot of this entire conversation. Now, some people have questioned whether this was a setup, whether WWE planted Aldis there to witness this so they could have their reason for this storyline. And you know what? That's possible. Everything in WWE is carefully constructed, but whether it's a work or a shoot, the story is what matters to us as fans. Nick Aldis' response. Nick Aldis, for those who don't know, is a wrestling veteran himself. He was a multi-time NWA World Heavyweight Champion, one of the most respected workers in the independent scene, and he's been absolutely killing it as Raw's general manager since taking over the role. Nick Aldis represents class, professionalism, and respect for the business. He's not someone who tolerates disrespect or insubordination, especially when it comes to WWE legends. So when Aldis heard Gunther's comments, he didn't waste any time. According to reports, Aldis immediately approached Gunther in catering. The conversation was brief, but intense. Aldis allegedly told Gunther that his comments were completely unacceptable, that they violated WWE's code of conduct, and that there would be immediate consequences. Gunther, being Gunther, didn't back down. He reported stood his ground, saying he was entitled to his opinion and that truth isn't disrespectful. It's just uncomfortable for people who can't handle it. That's when things escalated. Aldis, clearly furious, told Gunther to follow him to his office. Several superstars witnessed this confrontation, and word spread through the backstage area like wildfire. Everyone knew something big was about to go down. In Aldis' office, behind closed doors, the conversation allegedly got even more heated. Gunther refused to apologize. He doubled down on his comments. He told Aldis that WWE has become soft and that management protects legends instead of building the future. And you know what? There's actually some validity to that argument. WWE has been criticized for relying too heavily on nostalgia and part-time legends instead of building new stars. But there's a way to make that argument without disrespecting the people who built the foundation you're standing on. Aldis gave Gunther an ultimatum: apologize to John Cena publicly on next week's Raw or face suspension. Gunther refused, and that's when Nick Aldis made the decision that has the wrestling world in chaos. He fired Gunther on the spot. Not suspended, not fined, fired. The fallout. Now, let's talk about the fallout from this decision, because it's massive. First, let's address the elephant in the room. Is this a legitimate firing or a storyline suspension disguised as a firing? In WWE, when someone is fired on screen or in storyline, they usually come back eventually. It's a storytelling device to create drama, build anticipation, and give a character time off for various reasons. But here's why this feels different. One, this happened backstage, not in a televised segment. WWE is presenting this as a legitimate backstage incident that has real consequences. That makes it feel more real to fans, even if we're smart enough to know it's part of the show. Two, Gunther is at the height of his popularity and drawing power. He just came off that legendary Intercontinental Championship reign. He's been positioned as a top heel on Raw. His matches are consistently the highest rated segments. Why would WWE actually fire him now? It doesn't make business sense. Unless this is building towards something huge. Think about it. What if this firing is actually the beginning of a massive storyline that culminates at WrestleMania? What if Gunther has to earn his way back to WWE? What if this leads to a dream match between Gunther and John Cena on John Cena's retirement tour? That would be money. That would be a 5-star classic. And that would give both men a platform to tell an incredible story about respect, legacy, and what it means to be a WWE superstar. But here's where it gets even more interesting. The WWE Universe is completely divided on this. Social media exploded after news of this firing broke, and I mean exploded, trending worldwide on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, everywhere. Team Gunther fans are furious. They're saying Gunther was right, that Cena is overrated, that WWE protects its legends at the expense of current stars, and that Nick Aldis abused his power. Team Cena fans are equally furious. They're saying Gunther is disrespectful, that he owes everything to the foundation Cena helped build, that he's ungrateful, and that he deserves